The city never really sleeps. It just dims. I have always known this, long before I understood why I walk these streets at night. I knew that darkness was never complete here. There was always a window somewhere, throwing its pale rectangle of light onto the pavement below. Always a shadow, moving behind frosted glass. Always the suggestion of a life being lived just beyond reach. I told myself it was curiosity, the harmless kind. The kind every person feels when they pass a lit window on a winter night and catch, for just a second, the outline of someone else's evening. A table set for dinner, a television's blue flicker, a child being carried to bed. Everyone looks. I just didn't stop. The night I walked into her building, I had been standing outside for 11 minutes. I know because I counted. Not out of hesitation, I had already decided. I counted because counting kept my breathing steady. Because if my breathing was steady, I was in control. And control, I had learned very early in my life, was the only thing that stood between a person and everything they were capable of. The door to the building was old, the kind that clicks open if you know exactly where to press. I knew. Inside, the hallway smelled of wood and something floral, not perfume, something older than that. Something lived in. I stood there for a moment longer than I needed to, just breathing it in. Nobody was watching. I have spent my entire career deciding what the world gets to see. Which stories survive the morning. Which truths get folded quietly into a drawer and forgotten. I was good at it. Too good, maybe. Because somewhere along the way, I stopped being able to tell the difference between what I was hiding from the world and what I was hiding from myself. Her door was at the end of the hall, third on the left. I didn't know whose door it was. Not yet. I just knew I needed to see what was on the other side. The living room told a story, the way all living rooms do when no one is performing for anyone. A couch, deep gray, slightly worn on the left armrest. Someone's side. Someone who sat there enough to leave a mark. On the coffee table, a half-finished glass of water and a book left open, face down. The kind of thing you do when you believe you're coming back. I didn't touch the glass. The painting on the wall stopped me longer than anything else. It wasn't expensive. I could tell that immediately. But it had been chosen carefully. A coastline, somewhere cold, somewhere where the water was the color of unfinished thoughts. I stood in front of it for what felt like a long time, trying to understand what kind of person hangs a painting like that. Not for beauty, for something else, for the feeling of standing at an edge and not falling. The bookshelf was the most honest thing in the room. People curate their bookshelves for guests, but the organization here was private, not alphabetical, not by color, not by size, by something only one person understood. Law, philosophy, 3 novels spine-cracked from rereading, a small framed photograph tucked between 2 books, almost hidden. I leaned closer. I didn't let myself look at it long enough to remember the faces. The desk in the corner was where the room changed tone. Papers, a recorder, notes in handwriting that moved fast, like the hand couldn't keep up with the mind. This was where she worked when she didn't want to be seen working. I didn't know that yet. I told myself I didn't know that yet. I left the kitchen for last. The bedroom was the quietest room in the apartment. A double bed, but made the way a single person makes a bed. Tight on one side, barely touched on the other. The pillow on the right still held the faint impression of a head, hers. The other pillow was too flat, too undisturbed. A decoration, a habit, a hope maybe that had long since gone cold. There were no men's shoes by the door, no watch on a nightstand, no second glass of water. Whatever her life was, it was lived alone in this room. By choice or by circumstance, I couldn't tell yet. Maybe both. I opened the top drawer of the dresser slowly, not looking for anything specific, just looking. Silk. Cotton. Things folded with a kind of private care that no one was meant to see. I touched the fabric briefly, just the edge, just enough to feel the texture between my fingers. And then I closed the drawer. I stood in the middle of that room for a long time. This was the most intimate place I had ever stood in another person's life. Not because of what I had touched, because of what the room revealed without meaning to. The loneliness of it. The order that covered something deeply disordered underneath. I recognized it. On my way out, I passed a door I hadn't noticed before, slightly ajar. I stopped. Through the gap, a nightlight, pale blue, a small bed. A stuffed animal on the floor, dropped mid-dream. I pulled the door closed, gently, carefully, like I was the one protecting something, and I left. The city looked different from a bicycle. Slower, more honest. I took the back streets, not out of panic, but out of habit. Main roads have cameras and momentum. Side streets have neither. You move through them like a thought no one is having, and the city lets you pass without asking questions. I pedaled slowly. No urgency. Urgency draws attention. The windows were still lit. Third floor of a yellow building. A man at a kitchen table, head bent over something I couldn't see. Reading, maybe. Or just staring. The kind of stillness that looks like peace from the outside, but rarely is. A ground floor apartment, curtains half open. Two people on a couch, not touching, facing a television screen. The blue light made them look like they were underwater. A single lamp in a top floor window. No movement. Just the lamp. Burning for no one. I stopped at a small market on Elgin Street. The kind of place that doesn't ask you anything. I bought a 6-pack, cold, and put it in my bag without thinking too much about it. My apartment was on the 4th floor of a building that had no personality, which was exactly why I had chosen it. Inside, everything was where I had left it. Of course it was. No one else had been here. No one else came here. The space was clean. Ordered. A couch, a desk, bookshelves arranged by subject. No photographs on the walls. No objects that existed purely for comfort or memory. Nothing that would tell a stranger who lived here, because I had never wanted anyone to know. I stood in the middle of the room for a moment. An hour ago, I had stood in the middle of someone else's room. The difference was not the furniture. It was not the size or the light or the smell. It was that hers felt inhabited. I left my jacket on the chair and went straight to the shower. Hot water, fast. Not because I felt guilty. I told myself it wasn't that. Just routine. Just the end of a night. In the kitchen, I took a steak from the fridge. Cast iron pan, high heat. While it cooked, I opened the first beer and drank half of it standing at the counter watching the meat. There's something honest about cooking alone. No performance, no conversation to maintain. Just heat and time and the smell of something real. I ate at the desk. Second beer, opened halfway through the steak. The food was good. I noticed that. The way you notice small things when there is nothing else to notice. Afterward, I sat for a while. not thinking exactly, just existing in the quiet. The third beer stayed unopened on the table. I was asleep before midnight. No dreams I remembered, just darkness and then morning. Clean. Ordered. Empty, like always.